Time is all a figment of our imagination.
Oh God, don't start with me. It's too early to start drinking, Arlene. Welcome to Barnyard Language. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families.
In case your kids haven't already learned all the swears from being in the barn, it might be a good idea to put on some headphones or turn down the volume. While many of our guests are professionals, they aren't your professionals. If you need personalized advice, consult your people. Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Barnyard Language. Thank you for joining us again this week. So Katie, you get to do the update first. What's happening on the farm?
Not a whole hell of a lot, Arlene. Got our first snow of the year last week. I think it was Friday. And other than that, it's pretty gray and gloomy. Kids are good. Gym is good. Work is busy. Anyway, what's happening in your world, Arlene?
Well, the one exciting thing that happened this past week is that we actually left the farm for a few days.
It was so weird. I was so lonely without you.
Very nicely. I know. We did end up having internet reception, but I told Katie we might not. So she had to not send me any messages for a few days. And I think she was lonely.
I believe I also told you to not message me because you should go spend time with your husband and not be messaging me.
Yes, yeah.
But I had not realized how much chatter usually flows back and forth.
Yeah, between us. Stream of consciousness. I had this thought. I need to share it with you. Yeah, so my fantastic mother came and hung out with the kids, and we've gotten to that glorious stage where the kids can actually be helpful with some chores. So they didn't have to do a ton, but the 10 and 13-year-olds took turns cleaning out the barn, so running the manure pump and the stable cleaner once a day, and my daughter does nighttime barn check, so she's out there just to check on everything and push in feed and scrape down some cows before everyone gets tucked in at night. So that feels nice to know that we have some mid-sized people who can now help with some other chores, and we have some fantastic staff and my father-in-law and mother-in-law who are at home and can do chores for us while we're away. So we actually were away for 3 days, which seems like weeks. And you probably have the same feeling, Katie, both in the house and in the barn, but it's hard to relax when you're at home. Even if you're not doing anything, there's that feeling of, I can see that thing over there. Or from a husband, I know it's like, I know there's a list of things I could be doing at the barn. So even if you're trying to take a day off, it doesn't really feel as relaxing as if you can actually physically leave. So that felt really nice. And so we got to get together with some friends from universities. So there was some cow talk because we went to an agricultural university. So there was still farm talk, but there was no actual farming happening while we were gone. So that was really nice. And then what else? Yeah, we got some snow as well. I need to probably set up some things with our chickens in the next few days to make sure their water doesn't freeze and that they stay a little bit warmer. Do you have much to do to get ready for the actual winter weather, Katie, around your place?
I do. I feel like covered up, for the poultry, every year we end up having to buy a new water heater base because they get rusted out, and especially with the ducks, they splash a lot of water out. And I don't want to say unusually paranoid about barn fires. I feel like that's a very valid and good thing to be paranoid about.
Absolutely. And I think all farmers are a good amount afraid of barn fires.
Buying a new water heater base is a lot cheaper than replacing buildings. So, we have windows that we take out of the coop in the summer that I need to get put back in and bedding put down, and not really a whole lot more. We need to clean out the sheep building before it gets frozen too hard, so that it's clean for lambing in the spring. And other than that, just picking up stuff around the yard and kind of doing that before, too much snow gets on top of it. And then I'm going to assume my in-laws are never going to hear this show. My father-in-law is a very enthusiastic snow clearer, both with the snowblower and the skid loader. And by snowblower, I mean, tractor mounted, like 8 foot wide.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
So you want to make sure that everything is cleared far away from the edges of the driveway because it could get sent to
the
the
edges of the
snowblower.
driveway, the middle of the lawn. Yeah. No, he's
We're
enthusiastic,
clearing everything.
to put it nicely. I've had to ask him to actually leave snow in places before because the kids want to like build snowmen or just it looks gross when it's
Sure.
like all snow blood and there's like
And
rocks
not
and
just
leaves
have
and
it
shit.
shot away.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Did some Christmas shopping, getting ready to, put our little battery candles in the windows. I'm very excited about that. My grandma always put the candles in the windows at Christmas, and I've never gotten around to it, but our kids are getting old enough to, like, want traditions. Um, so we're still debating about Elf on the Shelf. I think I'm going to say no. But we also, last year, I bought one of those light projectors, that projects like flashing lights
Oh
or
yeah.
snowflakes or whatever.
Up onto the wall. Yeah.
And yeah, because we have a barn that's like 70 feet high, I used the calf warmer last year to mount the light high enough and projected lights across the entire front of the barn for the entire holiday season. And it was immensely
Nice.
pleasing, so I need to get that back out.
I had been a no Elf on the Shelf person for years, and I was sticking with it. And then I had a moment of weakness. I think my daughter was probably in that 11, 10, 11, 12 range. I can't remember the exact year, but right around the time where she was probably only having a Christmas left of, like the magic, right? That she still believed there was an elf at school. All of our friends had elves, and why didn't we have one? And I thought to myself, you know what? I can do this for a year, keep the magic, and then she'll have to help me with it. Once she doesn't believe anymore, she's got three younger siblings, so we're going to have to do this for a long time. But then she's going to have to take over some of the responsibility. So it's actually worked out pretty well. She'll remind me that it has to be moved, and ours doesn't do any tricks. Like it just moves, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we forget it doesn't move at all. And our other strategy on that one is we have kids with late season birthdays, so Elf doesn't come until after the final birthday because we kind of don't decorate for Christmas or do anything too Christmassy until all the birthdays have happened. So the elf doesn't arrive until after the 8th of December, which is when the last family birthday happens. So that shortens up the season too, where it's not quite as many days in a row.
That's a wise choice too.
But if you can avoid it for a few more years,
Yeah.
just keep avoiding.
No, I have the feeling that there's going to be elves at school, and then it is going to be a why don't we have an elf thing. I don't. As much as my personality says screw that noise, I don't care what everybody else is doing. I also don't want to be that mom whose kid doesn't have the thing that everybody else has. So,
Sure.
um,
And it is pretty cute. It's,
yeah.
fairly harmless as long as it's not one where you're doing elaborate setups every night that then you're going to regret.
Well, I was thinking this year for an advent calendar because I like the idea of having a countdown through the season. I saw one where they
Mhm.
used like the little paper bags, and put like a little activity or like a small gift rather than having like a piece of candy. My kids aren't old enough for the Lego advent calendars, and a piece of
Mhm.
candy just seems kind of pointless. The candy is always crap. They're going to fight over it. We'd have to have two of them. It's just a whole thing. So I realized that maybe the
Yeah.
elf could bring the little bag for the advent thing every day. I'm trying to
But you
collect
can't
some
touch them.
activities like, going to holiday lights or going to, whatever activity or having a movie night or whatever and putting those in
Mhm.
the advent calendar.
Yeah,
Just
sometimes
candy
our
or
elf has
whatever.
brought, like a new Christmas book or the Christmas pajamas, that kind of stuff, so that you actually get it before Christmas versus, like, do you give them the Christmas pajamas on Christmas and then they wear them for the day and then that's it? So yeah, you can make traditions to be what you need them to be, right?
Yeah.
So our
And
episode today is actually our gift guide, and the one thing I forgot to say when we were recording all of our gift suggestions was what should be the easiest one for us to remember is local food. So we're farmers, and we probably know lots of farmers or know of lots of farmers who have businesses and who sell their, in my area, maple syrup or honey or meat, eggs, cheese, all those types of things. So those are the perfect gifts for each other and for the people in our lives, because consumables are always a good gift because they don't take up space. And you can even spend a little bit more sometimes on something fancier, or maybe, a special seasonal product that somebody's got going on, just to support them during this time of year when you're also looking to figure out what to get that hard to buy person. So that was my one of my other suggestions for gift giving.
I think, Arlene, too, we could probably put up a list in our podcast Facebook page and on our other pages where producers could add their contact information if folks want to order from them through the season.
Sure.
I know that we have a
Yeah,
number of
yeah. Whether you're
producers
local
that
to
are,
them or can ship.
yeah, yeah. We have a number of folks that do ship different items, and that's a great opportunity to support some folks. And I guarantee that your local producer appreciates that money a heck of a lot more than whatever fancy corporate place you were going to order whatever from. And I can guarantee the quality is going to be better too.
Podcasts are free to listen to, but they aren't free to create. Katie and I would appreciate your support as we work to build the Barnyard Language community. Patreon is an easy way for you to make a contribution that goes directly to making this show.
There are 3 levels of patrons. If you join at the farmhand level of Patreon, you get early access to episodes and the chance to give us input on upcoming shows. At the percolator level, you can listen to our mistakes, and there's a lot of them, see video content like the Rabbit Agility class, and access quarterly instructional videos. At the good shit level, we will give you naming rights on livestock, barn cats, and future children, invite you to live chats with us, and regular updates from our farms.
So instead of introducing a guest today, I just get to introduce ourselves again. So Katie and I have decided that we're going to do the Farmer's Gift Guide, and the holidays are coming up. So we're going to be giving you some of our personal suggestions, as well as some suggestions from the Barnyard Language Facebook group. People have been sharing some of their thoughts on what to get those hard to buy for farmers and family members and kids. So Katie, do you want to start with one of your first ideas for a Christmas or holiday gift?
Yeah. I will start with the fact that I am pro practical gifts. I married into a family that feels like if it's really useful in any way, it is not a gift. We're meeting in the middle on that. I will say my very first rule, Arlene, is no anything alive unless it's going to live in your house. No nothing. Especially if it's breathing. No. Only, this, no, nothing alive. So Arlene.
Even plants. Plants are not okay?
Plants, if you know the person is a plant person, sure. If they already successfully have other plants, absolutely. If they have expressed a specific desire to have plants, sure. Otherwise, no.
No unexpected living things.
No. All right, Arlene, what's the first thing on your list?
So my first thing was, it was a gift that kind of came together through social media and communal intelligence. So I have a friend who had posted that she had made a farm mat for her son. So, I mean, if your kids are like mine and Katie's, I know there are a lot of small farm implements, and those mats that you can sometimes get for kids to play on with roads are really leave something to be desired for the farm kid who needs more acreage and less hospitals and airports and all the kinds of things that are normally on those, those kind of a rug or, a mat type thing to play with toys on. So she had posted a picture on Facebook about this mat that she had made with a stock image of a cartoon farm. And she had it printed onto that vinyl fabric that people use in print shops to make signs out of. So, those big banner size ones. So it was like a huge, I don't know, like maybe 5x6 piece of vinyl with a farm on it, which I thought was a fantastic idea. And I told Katie about it. And she said, you know what, we have some aerial photos of our farm. Maybe we can incorporate that. And that triggered me to remember that we had some drone shots taken of the farm one time. We were doing some planning around a building project. So we had someone take some drone shots so we could get a good layout of where all the buildings were and where the silos were and all that kind of stuff. So we used some of those. I used one of those drone shots to make a vinyl playmat of our very own farm. So I'm not sure if my son or my husband liked it more, but it was a fantastic present. And I would recommend it to anybody who has people who like to do farming on a small scale or a big scale if they have toys.
Well, that's good to know because the boy child does indeed have one of those rugs. And you are correct. He does not care about, he kind of likes the circus tent that's printed on it. But other than that, hospital, he doesn't care about any of that. He just wants more farmland. So thanks for the reminder that I do need to order one of these for the boy child.
And it's a good opportunity to support a local sign store too. I mean, you could probably get it done on one of those, big sites, and that's fine if, that's the easiest or cheapest way to get it to your house. But there's lots of local places that print off signs, and I bet that they would love to do that project for you.
I can confirm too that at least our local sign place, we've had them do some banners like that for farmers market for us, and they can even print what amounts to a bumper sticker to go over part of the sign. If it gets worn off or you, I guess, add a new building or whatever, they can actually just make a decal that slaps over it.
Sorry, I was going to say, I bet you could even use a Google image, if you didn't have those shots yourself. I mean, like the imagery on Google Earth is pretty good quality. I bet if you worked with your local sign shop, they could even just grab those shots that someone has already taken of all of our properties, because we live in the world and that's the way it is now.
The first thing on my list is that the girl child wants a butter churn, and not even like a Crank Daisy style churn. She saw in a book one of the big wood ones. It's like a barrel with a with the dasher
like,
that comes
like
out the
you're
top.
Sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair, kind of.
Yeah, like straight up. I think we actually do have one, but she has requested that she wants a unicorn rainbow butter churn for Christmas. This is she's turning 5 next month, so she's a grown-up now, and that is what she wants. I may actually I probably won't bother pulling the one out of the barn, but maybe I can show her how to make butter in a mason jar or something. I bet she'd like that.
Stick a rainbow on the side of that.
Yeah, it just cracked me up that that's what she wants for Christmas. So Arlene, what's next on your list?
My next one is more generic than the first, but it's to research subscription boxes for the people in your life, because our kids, we have 4, and they have birthdays in November, 2 in December, and 1 in February. So all of our gift giving is in a really short amount of time. So last year, I started looking for gift boxes, and we signed up for 6-month subscriptions for each of them for different subscription boxes. And there's so many out there. We did a craft box for one. One of them did a Harry Potter box. The other one got one from Japan that included both like he got some chopsticks sometimes. He got like a ramen bowl, which he still uses all the time, and some little like anime type stuff, as well as like Japanese snacks, which were cool to try. And then the youngest one got like one of those KiwiCo boxes. So it was, you got to assemble something and do kind of a science experiment or a engineering type project. So anyway, they've all said that they want subscription boxes again this year, and it's going to be less of a surprise because they want to be involved in picking them, but I might as well, as they're getting older, let them have some choice. And it's still a surprise every month, and it's definitely spreads out the stuff from having it all appear at one point in the year. So that's been fun for us. Lots for grownups too. So there's tons out there.
One of my adult cousins got one last year or the year before that was an intro to watercolor painting that she is, kept subscribing to and is really, really enjoyed, because they're, generally maybe like a 2-hour project. I think they're pretty short, but it's something new and different. And they, she doesn't have to go anywhere for classes. And that's nice, especially if you live in a rural area, not to have to actually.
Yeah. And you can support some
house.
Small businesses that way too. Some of them are set up by, like, there's one from our local distillery that sends out like a cocktail subscription box, which might be on my Christmas list. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I would fully support that.
So yeah, and our actual local Chamber of Commerce did one leading up to Christmas last year that I subscribed to for a couple months, that each small business in the town contributed something each time. There was like a small and a large version. So then it was, during COVID, shopping was a bit more challenging, but you could support some small businesses who were looking to get their stuff out there. What's your next thing, Katie?
My next thing is Bruder Toys, Bruder. They are, I believe, a German company. They make farm toys and toy ambulances, all sorts of toy vehicles, anything you could possibly want. And they are a little bit on the spendy side. They tend to be heavier, made of metal, things of that nature. Very, very realistic. The boy child has his eye on a forage chopper that he has really been looking at for more than a year now. So I think Santa will probably sneak that in under the tree. The bigger tractors run probably $70 to $90, which seemed a little ridiculous the first time I bought one, but the amount of wear they've put on them is astounding. And the super cool part I found out was that they actually have a website where you can go and buy replacement parts for when your child does things like putting so many miles on his excavator that the tracks fall off, because they will stretch out over time. But being able to buy parts for a toy and being able to actually repair it instead of just tossing it and replacing it like you do with the cheaper plastic stuff, it ends up costing us less money. And honestly, I have a lot more respect for a business that makes toys that are repairable, especially now that so many big tractor companies have gone to where you can't even repair your actual tractor.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that. Anyway, Arlene, what's next on your list?
So my next one is inspired by my sister-in-law, and so this is my husband's sister. She's a really good gift giver. And something that she did, and then I ended up kind of copying her, was for someone who's challenging to buy for. I don't know about you, but I find that sometimes men are difficult to shop for. Was give them kind of a subscription box, but from you. So food of the month club. So I think she did for this person, brought them a little bit of baking every month. It was someone who was living on their own. So she brought them some baking kind of on a monthly schedule, and then they got some treats. And then it also kind of incorporated a visit too. So then, inspired by her, there was one year I was really into using my bread maker a lot, which is, I still use it sometimes, not all that much. But I did a bread of the month club for my father-in-law. I brought him a fresh loaf of bread and some jam every month. So it was a good reminder to me to pull it out and to make something for him. And then it's not more stuff, but that they appreciate it, and then that you're thinking of them all year long. So if you can commit the time and it's someone who doesn't live too far from you, then it's a nice gesture, and it's something that doesn't have to be too expensive either.
I know I did something similar actually year before last for a friend who had a new baby, and just every Monday showed up at her house with, some sort of snack or whatever, just because, especially, in a rural area with a new baby, you don't see other humans, and it's nice just to have a few hours of company. And I can see this being really good too for any older folks you might know to just, stop by with supper and just spend some time together. I think for most of us, that's really the best gift we can give somebody, is to spend some time together.
What's your next one, Katie?
Oh, my next one. Best investment I've made this year. I had a friend who invited me to stay with them instead of paying for a hotel a few months ago while I was out of town. And so in return, I went to our locally owned pet store and sent them a gift box of toys for their new bulldog puppy. She is one of the ones with the ears, cutest damn thing in the world. So my thought is that for a lot of folks who have, pets and really don't need any more stuff, you send them a box of pet toys, pet treats, a new collar, whatever, everybody's happy. Because what I found out is that if you send them a box of pet toys or treats or whatever, they send pictures. And as we all know about my feelings about puppies, yes, it is a gift for me to send your dog toys. Another one I have done for my sister actually got prints made. There's a company called Crown and Paw. There's actually a number of companies that do it, but you send them a digital picture of your pet and they will put it into, the one I got for her was a picture of her pit bull in Elizabethan dress, I want to say, but they have all sorts of different costumes.
Yeah.
And It's basically the most ridiculous thing in the world. But, for $50 to make somebody laugh that hard, totally worth it. Arlene, what else do you have?
My next one is a Ontario boutique. It's called Cold Cactus, and they sell Western wear and home decor and jewelry and that kind of stuff. They have men's clothes, women's clothes, kids' clothes. And I just love that it's a small boutique that you can shop online at. She's in my province and she has a really good variety of things and at reasonable price points. And I think that it's important, especially now with all the, delays and things they're talking about, that small business, if you're in a rural area, sometimes there isn't a lot of variety. But if you can research small businesses that are, you're still going to have to ship from, but they've got stuff in stock, right? Like they can get it to you. Might take a little bit more time or might cost you a little bit more money, but then you know that you're supporting somebody who's on the smaller side and is just trying to provide a different product than you might be able to get locally or even in your province or state. So Cold Cactus is my promo, and she does ship to the US as well. So if you're in the States, you can also buy from her, but I'm sure there's lots of cool Western wear or country wear boutiques out there that we can support with our spending money. What's your next one, Katie?
All right, I'm going to show you Arlene, and I'll post a picture on the this isn't working on the Facebook page. My personal, God, I hope somebody gets me a gift certificate. If anybody's listening and was going to get me a Christmas gift, this is the top of my list. Mochithings.com, it's MOCHI things.com, is I believe, Oregon-based company that sells stationery and things primarily imported from Japan. What I was showing Arlene is a vertical weekly schedule sticky note. It is 3 inches wide by 11 inches long, and it's got, 7 days on it. And so you can write little bits of your agenda on it, and it is designed to stick to the side of your computer monitor. So you don't have to open your planner. It's just right there. They have the best assortment of sticky note pads with all sorts of different grid prints on them, and to-do list sticky notes and planners. And like, I got what amounts to the adult version of a Trapper Keeper, where I can keep, all my pens. Will actually fit a laptop or an iPad, notebooks, all of that. So basically, if you're kind of an obsessive stationery nerd or a planner nerd like I am, mochithings.com. Don't blame me. It's not my fault if you spend all your money.
How many sticky notes are within your eyesight right now? Can you even count them?
More than 10, Arlene. Okay? Stop judging me. Whatever.
I just know you told me the other day that you have one that says, don't forget to press record. So, I mean, I know
Yes.
that sticky notes are an important part of your planning.
Yes. I worked with the life coach for a while this spring, which was amazing. Highly recommend. But I have a lot of things that she drilled into my head on sticky notes across the bottom of my monitor. And also some notes to myself about work and my schedule. Yeah, I put everything on a sticky note, because if I have a big sheet of paper, my to-do list will be like 90 items. If I stick with an actual Post-it, it usually maxes out at like 20 or 25. Anyway, that's enough about me. We'll have a therapy session some other day about this one. Arlene, what's next on your list?
So another one I have, and this was kind of a pre-pandemic thing, but I think it could probably start to work again, was, like I said, with all of our kids' birthdays really close together, sometimes when it comes around to Christmas, we don't want to give them any more stuff. So for a few years, we have done a family trip instead, and we tell them about it on Christmas morning. So maybe one year we went to an indoor water park, so they all got a new towel. And then there was another package that told them, where we were going and when, that kind of thing. Or, I mean, we had a trip that was supposed to be planned to Florida that then has since gotten canceled. Maybe it'll happen again someday. So I guess last year for Christmas, they really didn't get a whole lot because they just got a trip that got canceled. But I don't, until they listen to this podcast, they probably won't even remember that they got no Christmas gifts in 2019. So that's one of my ideas, is to just put off the gift and make it a gift of time and togetherness instead of more stuff.
So you're that mom.
I
Like, my
am.
gift to
But they
you
just
is that
had
you
their
get to
birthday.
spend time together. Just what every kid wants.
Well, if it's at an
Yes.
indoor water park, that's what you want.
Valid. All right, so the next thing on my list, I love gift cards. I love to receive gift cards. And I feel like if it's obvious that you put a little more thought into it than like Target, and don't get me wrong, I'm totally pro Target, except that our closest one is an hour and a half away. Um,
Don't remind me about Target. We had it for such a short time and then it left.
I'm sorry, Harley.
The Canadians will know what I'm talking about. We
Oh,
briefly had Target and then Canada's Target went bankrupt. So now
oh
our
no.
closest one is across the border.
But if you give someone a gift certificate to, say, the local bookstore, we have a local maker supply store, which really is above mochithings.com in my list. It's Cardboard Robot. They are on Facebook and they do ship all over the country and probably to Canada if you ask real nice. They are online at cardbot.com. Eric is fantastic. We love him. They have all sorts of good stuff. So if you get somebody a gift certificate to a place like that, otherwise for older folks, something that I've seen goes over really well is a smaller gift and then a gift card to their pharmacy or for grocery delivery or things, especially for folks that are on, a more fixed income. Most folks really don't need things, but just being aware that having help paying for prescriptions or getting them groceries or whatever can be a really nice treat as well. So Arlene, what else is on your list?
So one I had thought of for the farmer in your life who might be a reader is subscribing to some international or some other ag publications that they maybe don't already get. I mean, I know that most farmers get a big stack, but you can also diversify their stack of reading by getting them a subscription to a different one or from a territory a little bit further away, but maybe that fits their niche of particular farming, or maybe goes beyond the boundaries of your country, but you can learn a little bit about somewhere else. I know when we've gone on trips before, it's fun to pick up magazines and publications from other places and see how things are different and how things are the same. And one that I get from my grandmother-in-law, for my husband's grandma, is called Reminisce magazine. So it's kind of stories of the good old days. And I know she really enjoys it, and she lives in a retirement home. And then when she's done with it, then she'll put it in the common room and other people like to pick it up too. So that's one that has been a good investment, and same, still not more stuff because she's in a small room. So she doesn't need a lot of things, but she seems to like that one. Do you have any more to share, Katie?
I do. I actually have two more, I guess. Maybe I'll just go ahead and spit them both out. One thing I also really enjoy getting and giving is to get somebody something that is, one step nicer from what they might buy for themselves. So I'm going to assume that he's not listening to this podcast. We have I'm trying not to call him a kid because he's 18, but he was 8 when I met him. So a young man who works with us on the farm and is really a member of the family. He's that kid who always shows up, always works hard, is always ready to do that one more thing. So this year we're gonna get him a Leatherman for Christmas. They're a little spendy, but I was thinking to get it engraved with his name on it and maybe a thank you from our family on the other side, because he's more than earned it. But anything like that, like last year for my husband, I get him t-shirts every year because we're those people. Last year I got him Carhartt t-shirts. I thought it was a little stupid to pay that much instead of the ones from Walmart or whatever. They're a lot nicer. They don't have any holes in them after a full year.
It's pretty good.
Farm t-shirts, that's pretty impressive. So just
Yeah.
anything like that, getting somebody socks, but getting them nicer wool socks, just anything that's kind of one step up from something they might purchase for themselves. And the other thing that we've been doing that is not winter holiday specific is for our kids. We bought them each a toolbox 2 years ago now, I want to say. And so it all the gift giving occasions, so holidays, birthdays, whatever, or when I see a good tool sale, I buy some, decently good quality hand tools to put in their toolbox for them, because a good box full of tools is expensive. Things like hammers, levels, whatever, aren't going to get outdated. And by the time they're old enough to need a toolbox, they'll have a set. And they'll have a set that is not my set, that is not daddy's good, Craftsman and Snap-on set. So I think that will be a good gift for them as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And
Arlene,
then
yeah.
then when you don't know where your tools are, you might be able to ask really nicely and borrow one of theirs.
Well, since we have kids who are not quite 5 and 3.5, and they're already both obsessed with tape measures and levels and hammers and things, I feel like they're probably going to need their toolboxes sooner than
Yeah.
sooner than we anticipated even. Arlene, is there anything else on your list?
I did have a couple more. We each said we were only going to do 5, but I don't think we're very good at cutting ourselves off.
No.
My other one that I thought of that I've been doing for a few years now is making up a family calendar. So it takes some work and you have to harass people to send you pictures. But for both sides of the family, I end up doing the family calendar. So everyone sends me all their best shots from the year. And then I put them into the calendar. I put in everybody's birthdays and anniversaries. And then those go to the grandparents and the great grandparents who are still with us. And then some of the siblings want a copy too, so I can print off a few more. So it's kind of time consuming, but I enjoy it too. And then I know that the grandparents especially really appreciate seeing everybody's pictures all in one place. And I know we take a million pictures these days and sometimes don't print very many of them or any of them anymore. So then at least there's a few physical pictures around the house. And then my last one might be too on the nose for this year. I don't know, but we got this one a couple of years ago as a group gift, the board game Pandemic. So it's one of those cooperative games. I would say it's better for slightly older kids. I'm thinking maybe like an 8 and up, but if you're playing as a group, a younger sibling might be able to figure it out too. So it's a cooperative game. There isn't a winner or a loser per se. Either you win as a group or you go down with a ship. I guess it's so the situation is there's a pandemic and there are outbreaks happening in different cities, and then you each have different skills as players to try and fight the pandemic together. So it's kind of a fun one. And like I said, being cooperative, it means that you're not working against each other. You're trying to figure it out as a group. So that one's been kind of fun.
We asked our listeners to send in some ideas too. I feel better. I'm clearly not the only one who enjoys a good practical gift here. One of the top things we heard was heated vests and hand warmers. So basically anything that keeps you warm.
As continuing on with the practical stuff, one of the suggestions was those slip-on felt boot covers. I'm not sure if everyone knows what they look like, but they're kind of like a huge slipper. So someone comes to the door and is wearing their big, heavy rubber boots or work boots, and they just need to sneak across and grab something from the counter and don't want to take the boots all the way off. You can slide your nasty, gross boots into those guys and sneak across the floor without getting mud or other things all over the floor as you're coming in. And along the boot line, of course, boot dryers, yak tracks, or anything along the lines of feet, because you want your body to be warm, but you also want your feet to be warm and dry.
I will tell you a brief note on the yak tracks. I love mine. If you don't know what they are, they're a rubber thing that slips onto the bottom of your boots that has like coils or spikes on it so that when you walk on ice, you get more traction. Don't be an idiot like me and forget that you're wearing them and walk into Walmart with them on. That hard tile floor with those yak tracks, it's scary. It was really, really not great.
This is like roller skates.
Wow. It was bad news bears. As far as the felt boot covers, I had never seen them until a couple of years ago. I can tell you that as much as we might say that it smells like money, the boot covers are a lot cheaper than a divorce lawyer. So just a thought on that. And the boot dryer is basically the best thing in my life. My apologies to my family, but it's true. The next thing on our list, and these are all things that I've purchased for family members, is sort of the consumable items of the farm world. So flashlights, bungee cords, tie down straps, Drawbar pins are a personal favorite around here. Cotter pins, licorice, shop towels, gojo. Kind of walk into the farm store. If your store is laid out like ours, cruise down the left-hand side of the store, which is where all the farm ephemera is, and just fill your basket up and then just call it good. And the best part is you don't even have to wrap it, because if you're buying it for the kind of person who's going to be stoked to be getting drawbar pins, they don't care if it comes in a bag from the farm store. And you can just chuck that shit right under the tree and everybody's happy. Especially drawbar pins. Seriously, you want to see happiness, that's where it is. Also hose repair kits, the little quick connect ends, anything like that. If you're really getting big, maybe the hydraulic fluid, like a nice 5-gallon pail of hydraulic fluid would probably not go over too badly.
Yeah.
Arlene, what else do you see on this list?
So one of our other things on the list was specifically women's workwear, because seems like there's men's work pants and socks and all that kind of stuff wherever you look. And something about men's clothes, they've got that standardized sizing. They tell you their number. They can walk into a store, buy a pair of pants, and it will fit. And the women listening know that this is not a thing that we can do necessarily or ever.
You can just picture how hard I'm shaking my head and rolling my eyes at this very...
Because we don't have a standardized number system and the clothes never fit. But we did have a couple good suggestions for some workwear suppliers that specifically cater to women. So one of them's out of Quebec and they're called PF Workwear. And there's another one from Ontario called Medea's Workwear that make coveralls. So just a few specialized suppliers of workwear for women, because we would like it to fit if we're going to have to work at the farm. So those are a couple of suggestions from some of our listeners. So I'm thinking that we should go right into our cussing and discussing, Katie. And we want our listeners to know that they can also cuss and discuss with us. So if you want to send us a voice memo or an email, you can send us a Facebook message or an Instagram private message, or any of the many ways that you would like to get in touch with us. We're doing all the socials. So we're going to cuss and discuss. And Katie, I think you're up first today. What are you cussing or discussing?
My first thing, women's workwear.
Especially we got a lead in.
While pregnant. Yeah. You want to see some ridiculousness, try and put some coveralls on when you're knocked up. I also had to buy new work boots because my feet swelled and I couldn't put my pull-up Red Wings on anymore. I had to switch to lace-ups. So that's just a whole thing I didn't really expect. My other two things, Arlene, the first one is you. Actually, I have some thoughts.
She's looking very stern, everyone.
Arlene recommended a whole series of cookbooks. They looked great. I look them up online. The first one is like 573 bar recipes or some damn thing. There's pictures. It's just sugar as far as the eye can see. And if anyone knows me, bars, like, that is my love language. Okay.
So for the
there
Canadian
are no copies.
It's companies coming. If you are a Canadian, you probably see them in your grocery store every week, or at least I do. They're by the cash. The companies coming cookbooks are like standard Canadian cookbook fare.
If any of you Canadians can get me a copy of the 573 bars that are Katie's love language that are not available in the United States for love or money, Arlene.
My apologies.
It was a real roller coaster.
I'll go on eBay.
Of the best of times, the worst of times.
You were supposed to be looking for make-ahead meals, not bars.
Bars are make-ahead meals, Arlene. Don't push me. I
think we call them squares, just for reference.
Oh, yes. Squares. Okay, fine.
It's the same thing, just a slightly different cutting.
If anyone reminds me, I will post a recipe in the show notes or on social media for a recipe that my friend Monica, who's local, gave me for Frito bars, which is Frito corn chips and peanut butter and corn syrup cooked down and mixed together, so sweet and salty, and with a cold beer after milking. Perfection. Anyway, Arlene, what did you have?
So I'm looping back around to gift giving because, like I said, I've got 4 kids and they all have winter birthdays. And I just never really thought through the fact that having 3 kids with birthdays in November, December, and December meant 3 rounds of birthday suppers and 3 rounds of birthday parties and all of the trying to make sure their day is special in what doesn't seem like that close to Christmas, but every year feels really close to the holidays and all the other stuff that fills up those weekends in December. So I guess it's just cussing our family planning. But I mean, what's done is done. And so they'll just have to deal with it. Some of them have already learned that sometimes birthday parties get pushed until January. So there's nothing fun in January in Canada anyway. It's just cold and miserable. So you might as well wait and have your birthday party then, right?
Yeah, I'm already realizing the difficulty of having a kiddo with a winter birthday in a place where we're not going
There's
to
winter.
go out. Yeah, where there is winter. Um, Precisely. So, and also, I'm going to have to hide my kids' Crocs. I guess I already mentioned that, but they will still be wearing them. I have a picture of the girl child from last spring, I guess, when it was about 35 degrees out. There was snow on the ground, um, in her winter coat and her boots and nothing else. Just perfectly happy. We're that family. What else do we need to
So I
do?
think we're
Arlene?
going to sign off for today.
All right.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, Arlene.
Usually we're
Except
thanking
for
a
the
guest.
squares.
Yeah, setting
You
you
know
up
what's going to
for
happen is
great
I'm going to get like
disappointment.
50 copies of this thing mailed to me.
Yeah,
That'll
I
be
probably
awesome.
have one in my cupboard.
You
I think I
probably
got
do.
like 10 of those cookbooks for wedding shower gifts.
I am also looking for the make ahead one, but the squares was the first one that Amazon offered me. All right. Well, thank you, Arlene. Do we have anything
Thank
else
you.
for today?
I don't think so. Just the usual. Join us on all the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. We're on Twitter. We're trying to be on TikTok. And we have a Patreon if you want to support us with your hard-earned dollars to support the show.